Can Money Grow? Reading I'm Not an Artist by Giovanni Aloi. Chapter 5, Art Capital, The Infinity of Currencies. If you watched last week's video, you will remember the bird feeder that I built. It is now hanging in my front yard, as you can see here. This week, instead of a traditional craft, I wanted to try my hand at some of the earth art mentioned in Chapter 5. While not as monumental, the golden seed spiral I made is my take on the spiral jetty by Smithson. Planting wildflowers that are native to your area is an important art to keep alive, as it benefits the local ecosystem. Let's circle back to this week's theme, the Infinity of Currencies. After World War II, there was an unprecedented social upheaval. Aloi explores some of these societal shifts in this chapter. He states that, quote, the 1960s were a tumultuous time of cultural change defined by the expansion of the middle classes in Europe and the United States and the simultaneous fragmentation of political perspectives. The Black Power, Gay Liberation Front, and women's liberation movements that emerged from years of protesting and rioting radically changed the art world, unquote. Aloi 95. Movements fighting for the fundamental rights of all people have continued to our present time. Sadly, systems of value often get in the way. If everyone has their needs met and is thriving, then it is much harder to exploit these happy, cared-for people. Greed has hampered the success of many movements, but artists have continued to question these systems of value. Aloi continues on to say, quote, like never before, artists felt a duty to process the traumatic and liberatory experiences of those years in ways that bypassed the politically biased and rhetorically loaded perspectives of official and institutional commenters. The body and the land became ideologically highly charged, contested sites ripened with the promise of liberation, unquote, Aloi 95. Land art is a movement exploring natural alterations to the environment. The website called The Art Story has a section on earth art that is worth checking out if you want more information than I provide. Here's a short quote from there explaining Spiral Jetty. Quote, realized in April 1970, Robert Smithson's Spiral Jetty is one of the most recognizable works from the earth art movement. Smithson constructed a 1,500-foot long and 15-foot wide spiral made of stones, algae, and other organic materials, 6,000 tons in all, in the northeastern part of Utah's Great Salt Lake, unquote. Many of the creations attributed to the land art movement exist outside the space of the museum. Nancy Holt's art exhibit titled Pipeline is one exception. Using the same material as the pipeline she witnessed dripping in Alaska, Holt built pipelines that began outside the museum and then wound their way through its corridors. Controlled oil spills dot the floor, bringing to mind the risks associated with the leaks that often happen on real pipelines. By bringing this obscured reality into the light of the museum, she brought awareness to the dangers of fossil fuels. Likewise, body art often exists outside of commodification. Contained by the body of its creator, this art form offers a way to create meaning without placing a dollar sign on it. One artist exploring body art in the late 1980s and continues with her practice to this day is Sarah Lucas. While many of her works involved her own body, her piece 2 Fried Eggs in a Kebab uses a table as the site of the body. Exploring the objectification of the female form, each day the exhibit was on show, she would buy fresh fried eggs and kebabs to place on the table in a way that mimics female anatomy, playing on the words of British slang for these parts. Sarah Lucas was a member of the Young British Artists, a loose collective of students in the 1980s who shook the art world with their shock tactics and brash attitudes. You can read more about the Young British Artists on the Art Story website. Aloi explains that, quote, YBA artists did not wait to be plucked from obscurity. They made themselves visible. They did not wait for opportunities to come their way. They created them. They didn't even wait for their school to validate their talent. Foolishness or pragmatism? Arrogance or genius? Unquote. Aloi 100. Aloi has previously critiqued the idea of genius as tied to the artist. His opinion is one of abolishing these categories. Another writer tackling the concept of genius is Sue Monk Kidd. In her book, Writing, Creativity, and Soul, she takes some time to dive into what being a genius entails. She paints the following picture, quote, "We've come to identify genius almost exclusively with a small elite group. But in the garden at Emily Dickinson's house, I'd never felt more certain that we all possess our own particular genius, a natural aptitude, ability, potential, passion, or spark, something we're good at doing, something that's ours." Unquote. Kid 45. Perhaps, rather than abolishing the idea of genius, we can expand upon it. Kidd's idea that every person contains their own form of genius was eye-opening. Instead of destroying this exclusive club, what if the doors were thrown wide open and every person invited in? When we honor the uniqueness inside us all, we can find a common factor between us. Kidd continues to say that, quote, "Einstein's most beautiful epiphanies seemed to come when he was not engaged in so-called productive work. He was a superb creative loiterer. Why did his best ideas appear while he was out in his boat sailing in circles while staring at the horizon? Because being aimless made space for his imagination. Or as he put it, I think 99 times and find nothing. I stop thinking, swim in silence, and the truth comes to me." Consciously getting out of our own way and becoming quiet and open has a sly way of generating ideas and shaking loose epiphanies. Unquote. Kid 84 to 85. Using Einstein as an example, a man whose name has become synonymous with genius, was a clever way to remind the reader that genius exists within all of us. And if you don't believe her, then take the words of an avowed genius as your evidence. Sometimes the most thoughtful move one can make is to stop thinking and seek truth within. We each contain a deep well of knowledge, and when we take time to listen to ourselves, we can find solutions within that are not known to our conscious minds. Sometimes ideas also come in the form of conversation. Even internal conversation will provoke new ways of thinking. I find a lot of my creative inspiration through talking with friends. Next week, I will be hosting a live stream, and I'm excited to see what topics we uncover during this interview. Aloi includes a series of interviews at the end of his book that bring further clarification to some reoccurring themes. One person that Aloi speaks with is Chanupa Hanska Luger on art as process. Luger states that, quote, "Museums put capital before community, and the whole art world continues to follow exclusivist models, even when it claims to be changing. The inclusion of BIPOC artists in museums is often instrumental to political agendas that have little to do with empowering them. I am more interested in relationships of generosity." Unquote. Aloi 178. Relationships of generosity. This ties into the idea of an infinity of currencies. Money is endless if we send it back and forth. The problem arises when money flows only up. When too much money is in too few hands, there is not enough for everyone else. What would our world look like if we focused on local economies, sharing economies, and bartering systems? Can we find a way to make infinite money, not just for artists, but for everyone? Your generosity is appreciated, so please comment with your ideas on creating infinite currency.